Hey guys, it's Renee Grenneman here. I'm a licensed mental health practitioner and a vetted practitioner for the Cincinnati Holistic Health Practitioner Group. I operate my business out of a nonprofit in Wyoming called the Healing Spaces Cincinnati. And in my business, which I call Spirited Growth, I practice modalities like EMDR, yoga therapy, hypnotherapy, and also I bring an insomnia specialization to things, as well as working with some niche audiences like gifted and anxious children, and also mothers and families who have gone through recent childbirth trauma. I'm here today because this month is Anxiety and Depression Month, and what I'm hoping to do today is bring a sense of how mindfulness plays a role in how we can effectively work with our body to alleviate anxiety and depression. And the story that came to me this morning was a recollection of something that happened to me when I was in graduate school. I had just started working at the counseling center on campus and was apparently going to be late for one of my first days of work there. Not the very first one, thankfully. But I was racing across campus, and it was a huge campus, and I was going as fast as my body could carry me with a backpack on me and everything else. And as I raced across campus, I kept checking my wrist, what time is it, what time is it, and I kept running as quickly as I could. And what stood out about that was the fact that 1 week prior to that experience, I had decided to stop wearing a watch. So I checked my wrist probably about 20 times, and it was really highlighted to me exactly how many times I was checking, because every time I didn't get a different result. I didn't get a time, I didn't get any kind of update, and I definitely was not getting to my class any earlier. And so that really struck me in that moment. And what I did after I realized that was, first of all, think, wow, all this time that I spend in these thoughts about, oh, I'm late, so I'm panicking about the future, when the fact of the matter was I was in the present moment, and anything I did at that moment was really not going to make a difference. I was doing the best I could. And so I became really aware of that mindset and where I placed my attention in that moment. And that's really what mindfulness is about. So if you've heard anything about mindfulness, first of all, you probably think it's the new black, or at least the new gluten-free, or something like that in the holistic world. You may think it's relegated to monks. If you know a little bit more about it, you may think, oh, well, that's where I use my senses to become aware of the present moment, which is a really effective tool. But just paying attention to our senses and thoughts is not all of mindfulness. So mindfulness is about taking the time to cultivate present moment awareness. And when we do that, we should really include a strong body orientation in our practice. You see, most of our information about our world is gathered through our body. And the best example I can give of that is if you've ever walked into a room where people were fighting and the air feels thick. There's a part of us that's just kind of non-localized, that's really aware of things that we can't necessarily know here, but where we know that we know. And it's when we start learning to pay attention to our felt sense, or the fancy word for it is interoception, that we start really harvesting the present moment for everything that it's worth. And that's when we start having a profound impact on our mental well-being. And so when we combine these things, this shifts our state. So it can take us from being in challenges, experiencing challenges, to being in the challenge in the present moment. And the reason that's important is when we are aware of a challenge, we are racing forward to the future or to the past, usually to the future, and we're oriented in that direction and not paying attention to the fact that actually right now, in the present moment, I'm actually safe and things are actually okay. And so we're able to, by bringing mindfulness into our experience, we can notice our body response, how we're responding to the challenge of the moment. And when we do that, we bring the present moment into that awareness as well. And it actually shifts our experience of our challenging moments, our traumas, our anxieties, our depressions, even PTSD, all of these things can be healed by just learning to pay attention to that felt sense, that bigger knowing that is beyond this head knowing. All right. And so that shifts us to a more neutral emotional state. So it's easy for us to think that mindfulness is paying attention to our thoughts, because a lot of times we kind of move through life as though we're these big heads and we forget that we're attached to a body. And so I spend a lot of time with clients, and I actually have a 8-week course coming up soon to help people to learn how to start paying attention, to reconnect to that body again. And a lot of times that's challenging. Maybe we've been through some traumas and our body was involved, or we were not fans of our body and for some reason. Maybe it gained weight or landed us in a hospital at some point, or things like that. And so the first thing we do in this process of developing mindfulness is we start exploring our body and our relationship to our body. And we actually start recognizing that A, we can take care of our body, and B, that we can get a lot of information from our body when we pay attention. And so over the course of 8 weeks, we go from that first starting point of body awareness, and we keep layering into a mindfulness practice in successive layers. And when we work it as a lifestyle, rather than just something that we try here and there, like, oh, right now I hear my fish aquarium in the background. And I can hear my cat in the other room. And I can see my fireplace. Like I can tune into the senses, but if I pause for a moment and tune into my body sense, I also have this sense of a little bit of jittery, doing a lot Facebook Live, haven't done one in a while. There's also a sense of calm. I love sitting in this room. I can really feel it, through the base of my body. Like I really feel the connection between the bottom of my body and the floor. When I'm sitting on a floor or on the earth, I feel really calm and collected. And so I start tuning in on these layers of what the experience is like in my body. And as I do that, we really come into strong contact with present moment. So the 8 layers that we work through in Zapped to ZEN, which is a program that I'm offering in February. So we start with body, and we do practices to help cultivate that sense of body connection. And then we start building our awareness muscles. And from awareness, awareness is, like starting to pay attention to the senses some, okay? And then we go into acceptance. I have an experience, and it's okay for me to have that experience. So an example is whenever I had that run across campus, it was, wow, I am stressed out. I'm checking my watch all the time as though that's going to make a difference, even though there's not even a watch there. And the fact is, I'm halfway across campus. I should already be there. I'm not going to make too much of a difference with all this stress. I accept the fact that I'm stressed. I accept the fact that I'm doing the best I can. I accept the fact that I'm running right now. And so I start noticing all of the things that are true, whether I want to like them or not. I can accept that they're real. The next week, we start cultivating a sense of the choices we make. So it's about noticing all the different points in our lives that we make choices. And so becoming mindfully aware of those points of choice helps us to recognize when we are up against certain feelings or pressures in our world. Where do we tend to go? What choices do we tend to make? And if we can start spotting that moment of choice, can we kind of expand that moment and maybe make new choices? And so now all of a sudden mindfulness becomes very potent, because not only have we become aware and accepting, which is usually what we think of as a stopping point for mindfulness, but now we can drill down another level and start shifting our experience as a result of that awareness. So after choice, in this particular group, we do a retreat where we cultivate our relationship to ourselves, so getting to know ourselves on an even deeper level. And then we move into discernment week. And discernment is not only awareness, but I call it awareness on steroids. So it's like if I see a sunset, I can say, wow, what a beautiful sunset. But if I am practicing discernment, I can notice all the pinks and blues and roses and the pinky rosy orange, and so we're getting into the subtle nuance, the different flavors of all the things that are around us. And so now it's like the whole world lights up and we're much more aware. After discernment, we move into truth. And so from that discernment, we start noticing, wow, there's a lot more possibility in this world than I may have realized before. And I'm aware of that moment of choice. And so now I can start looking at, what is it that I want? What is true for me right now? What is the truth of what I want? And then the next week we start going into truth in action. Can I take all of this hyper-focused present moment awareness and actually start creating really strong changes in our lives? Okay. And then the final week is flow. And flow is really about how does the rubber meet the road? Like, can we do this on a continuous basis where it's not just this practice that we do in this 8 weeks, but can we continuously be working from a mindful space? And at that point, you've cultivated a mindful lifestyle. So, so this is a little bit of as I describe this group, I'm offering that process to you both so you can kind of play with those stages on your own. But also to see how mindfulness, when you continue to drill down and go deeper and deeper and deeper into more and more subtle layers of the practice, it's radically life-altering. Another aspect of the group is, so we meet for 2 weeks every week, and then we have our daily practices that we do. But another aspect of the group is an important part of mindfulness, which is integration and intention setting. So at the beginning of every day, setting an intention. How do I want to be with today? So today's intention for me is really being more open to all of the beauty of my family members. Okay. And then the integration at the end of the day is about, okay, so knowing that I had that intention and having had this mindfulness practice, what am I aware of? What felt significant today? And how can I build on that moment and start creating little changes in my life to make it more of a part of how I do every day? And so then we take intentional steps, intentional actions every single day to start creating the life we want. So this is all very powerful because it's all based in the present moment. And what we know from science, from research, is when we are present moment, in the safe present moment, and we're able to take safe, effective actions for ourselves, everything in our mindset, anxiety, depression, PTSD, all these things start shifting. This is the basic formula for how to do life well and to tame the nervous system so that it can be more appropriately responsive to what's going on now. Because most of the time when we're anxious, yeah, there was probably something that set us off months ago, but now it's really okay, and yet I'm still anxious. I'm still waking at 3 a.m. And so what this does is it helps us to start to take this mindful awareness and these positive actions and to ground the body, the psyche, the nervous system in the fact that we're okay and we're able to take effective actions on our own behalf. And then that animal brain says, okay, she or he has it covered. I can let go. So hopefully that helps a little bit with why mindfulness approach is important. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave a message below and I'll be glad to answer them. And just because you managed to make it through my rambling this long, I would be glad to offer you, if you're interested in the Zapped ZEN program, a discount. I'll leave information on the program below, but the discount code that you would use will offer you a full 20% off of the program. So that's $100 off the program if you use it by the middle of next week, next Wednesday. And that discount code will be, let's call it HHPGC for Holistic Health Practitioners of Greater Cincinnati, HHPGC 20. So if you register with the link below and use that code, you'll get $100 off, and that's kind of a big deal. So, all right, we'll catch you all soon. Let me know what you think. Take care. Bye-bye.